front of the former house of JonBenet Ramsey, a cold case a little over 20 years ago in December of 1996, a beauty pageant 6-year-old.
In the case of the child beauty queen found murdered in her Colorado home, Boulder police detectives have now returned from interviewing about 30 people in Georgia where JonBenet Ramsey has relatives and where she was buried. A spokeswoman says the police have also been in contact with the girl's mother and father and hope to interview them later this week.
Investigators who have been focusing on the family home of 6-year-old murder victim JonBenet Ramsey have now issued 2 search warrants in Boulder and in Michigan, where the family owns another home. What they gathered is still unknown. Boulder police are finished here, and some detectives have gone to Michigan. They still have not interviewed the parents. Diana Olick, CBS News, Boulder.
Little girl was murdered in this house. I was given these documents today. Deceased municipal judge William H. Long, gave some testimony to a source of mine. I'm going to read this here. This is not a case of a random person breaking into this house. This is a case of a satanic pedophilia cover-up with several individuals involved. Prosecutor Robert Shapiro, IBM worker goes by the name Stevens, a prosecutor and a district judge from Larimer County. And it goes on and on. I mean, it was here. If you just get a view of this, let's walk this way. Get a view of this. This was a satanic pedophilia cover-up. The little girl, from what my source was telling me, was being invoked in satanic rituals. We're talking red robes, black robes, Rosemary Baby type of scene, or Eyes Wide Shut. It was said to be, on this judge's eyewitness, that he, the father, who's the kingpin of this all, was performing Pizzagate-like sexual rituals with his own daughter. He was a Satanist along with his wife, Patsy. 4 men were usually involved in raping this young girl. At the time of her death, he wanted 8 men involved. The little girl struggled. He hit her over the head. That's how she died. They made this cover-up. And if you can see a statue right there, somebody threw it like a statue, knocked it over of a young, looks like a young kid. This is a total cover-up. They tainted the evidence of this cold case. He's a former defense contractor, this guy, John Ramsey. We're getting weird looks out here, people, and we had a cop following us earlier. It's kind of hard to do this report right now, but anyways, this is a satanic ground. If you see this, there's gates everywhere. It looks like the Luciferian temple. If you look past this tree, get a little bit. Just like a little pentagram over there. Let's walk. We were told to watch our ass because this Boulder police pretty corrupt. Colorado State troopers, pretty corrupt. Major cover-up. And John Ramsey is still walking as a free man. Who's protecting him? Who's his gatekeepers? Or who's he gatekeeping for? This was one of those cases that just lit the country up in speculation. This goes deep. We're talking about briberies. We're talking about tax-free tax havens for a lot of the judicials in Boulder. And some people need to be indicted. This special report, your own investigations. This is Dean Ryan signing off. Okay, all right. After joining me, my name is Dean Ryan. I'm going to read the confessions of Municipal Judge William Long, who's now deceased. It covers a whole host of things, from the Chinese Mafia to the police state of Colorado to density meters, all the way up to JonBenet Ramsey herself and alleged perpetrators. I did the original video of this in 2017. We're actually in Boulder, Colorado, outside of the house of JonBenet, and we made the landmark video, and I was told bad things would happen to me if I did that. And I must admit, some very strange things did happen 2 years ago. Bizarre things have happened to me over the course of 2 weeks. So it is kind of a danger to do these kind of topics. I was told bad things would happen to me. Some very bizarre things have happened to me. Strange things have happened to me. To whom it may concern, I'm writing this because I'm confident that Boulder authorities know that I am one of the 9 to 12 people who spoke at length with retired Municipal Judge William H. Long. In the last 2.5 years of his life, the judge frequented the Trident Cafe in Boulder coffee house some 2 to 3 days a week. He spoke more at length to 5 of us, sometimes in greater lengths. He spoke even more to 2 older gentlemen and allowed those 2 to take notes. After a few meetings with Judge Long, it dawned on me about taking notes, and I started to take notes just after I would have coffee with the retired judge. At some point in time, I may be harassed or attacked for being with the judge while he was spilling the beans. If prosecuted for anything, I may get overwhelmed and railroaded in this case, even to be made a patsy in a contrived felony with falsely constructed evidence. More than a few times, Judge Long spoke of prosecutors and police abilities to fabricate evidence, with the FBI being masters of fabricating documents since 1950 or so. He said that most every prosecutor can get a variety of assistance, legal or illegal, from the FBI and the NSA, especially if the case concerns a whistleblower. He spoke about the cell phone technology. As long as your phone is picked up by at least 2 towers, they know when you're within a meter. The cops who told me of this were amazingly arrogant about it. George Orwell deserves royalty payments. Long continues, Boulder police have 5 suitcase-sized units that duplicate cell tower capability. They have mobility to track you to your back pocket. They got those in 2003. I later found that the units are called Stingray. Bill referred us to the movie Enemy of the State for a very small sample of NSA techniques and treacheries. About the FBI. Look at the cover-up in Omaha and the Franklin Savings and Loan scandal and the absolute mess connected with that. Dead witnesses, fabricated prison sentences, the whole enchilada. Former FBI guy Ted Gunderson researched that, and a guy named Webster Tarpley. You can read everything you can get from Gunderson.
Well, I was in the FBI for 27.5 years, and at the time of my retirement in 1979, I was the senior special agent in charge of the FBI Los Angeles office. I developed information personally about just extensive corruption in the government, not only at the federal level, but all the way down to the city and state level across this country. I have information about corrupt judges, corrupt law enforcement, prosecutors, county officials, judges. It involves drugs, involves pornography, involves prostitution, it involves cults, pedophilia. The bottom line is to take over the country and the world.
Bill said that if a whistleblower is desperately wanted, that he will be followed anywhere and everywhere, and that there is always extra money available, often in cash, to inspire the assistance of jurisdiction. He assured us that jury rooms are bugged in the most judicial districts in Colorado, so the prosecutor and judge are forewarned to the decisions of any jury. Judge Long said that all these troopers and a few select Colorado cities and counties have electronic gear that does illegal searches. These are called density meters. Density meters, they've had them since 1996. A density meter can look into a house or a car and detect gunmetal, money to the dollar, agriculture-based drugs, and powder drugs. It has a range of 250 yards. All troopers are well rehearsed in coercion and intimidation to facilitate a physical search after the illegal search, especially pull you over if they detect $3,000 or more or firearms.
they use a gamma emitter of some sort. I hope you've noticed the overly aggressive new laws concerning on-site forfeiture. The Colorado State Troopers have a stable of 30-somethings that are trained for one-on-one espionage, sabotage, and baiting, and 100 more who act as spies. The spy guys will work the homeless shelters, street scenes around the street to get a sense of what these folks are thinking. They're also on the Hill, college area in Boulder. Hangouts like Penny Lane, past Boulder Coffee Shop, and all the malls. Bill spoke of the training of trooper drug search dogs. He said that every dog has a specific button to push. They get the dogs to make his signal of drugs in a car. The button may be a sound made by the trooper or movement of the trooper's foot. The times when he spoke of the treachery of authority, he always seemed to scan the group as to see the reaction to this backdoor corruption, which he said is standard option for prosecution. Bill claimed that Congress and the White House are all for show. He always was adamant about it. The intelligence agencies, the Pentagon, the military-industrial complex illegally ran the country. They only answer to the banking system. Judge Long seemed to have little reservation with most of the details that he shared with us, as he appeared a bit disgusted, even angry, about a sizable portion of his career. He often spoke of the well-hidden system of untaxed payments to trust accounts of judges, prosecutors, many elected politicians, appointed officials. Some of them hide this illegal income from their spouses, he claimed. With his painful grin, he told us to notice as to when someone gets in such position of public service authority. They always try there for the clandestine money as much as for the power. He said he had spent the last 4 years of his career researching the depths of this tax-free cash cow. My thought of why he chose to speak of these things is because he felt it was either of the 3 judges who he's confident who arranged to put cancer in his food at a dinner, suggesting that he was being murdered. Well, we hear about that from time to time, the poisonings. With him telling us of the hidden money, I told him that I heard that former district attorney Alex Hunter lived off of Cherryville. But the 2 tradesmen have told me that Hunter also had a place up Left-Hand Canyon. I asked him if this would be the place where Hunter accepted his trust account untaxed clandestine mortgage payments.
No charges have been filed. I and my prosecution task force believe we do not have sufficient evidence to warrant the filing of charges.
Judge Long seemed surprised that I knew about that place. Bill said Hunter has another illicit mortgage in New Mexico. That's where he hangs out these days, or should I say hides out. Bill said that if the taxless payola mortgage payments went to a rental property, 4-Star Realty seems to be the property management firm of choice. He liked the phrase that I use, clandestine mortgage payments. Bill said that Hunter also made additional money with his handling of illicit drugs into Boulder earlier in his tenure. Bill claimed that Boulder police detectives took control of importing all these hard drugs around 1991, and that Boulder police have brought marijuana into Boulder since at least 1968. Judge Long said that it is a Chinese gang that now supplies the hard drug, and at the time pot, to Boulder police detectives, for the detectives and select officers to distribute to local street dealers. At one point, the Chinese gang, a wanted presence on the Boulder police force. So you will now find a Boulder police detective with a Chinese name, Detective Cho. Bill said that these 3 sources, one being a letter carrier, have told him that probably the major delivery point for hard drugs from the detectives is the Section 8 housing at 34th Street in Valmont. The late-night drop-offs in a couple of the overly numerous cars parked on the side of the street. Dealers in as many as 3 apartments living there supply 85% of drugs available to the college and the Hill area. Judge Bill was still curious as to exactly how these Chinese gangs moves their drugs, but he was told that Walmart trucks, J.B. Hunt, Schneider trucking firms are big in the drug transport business. Bill said that if an honest cop busts an approved drug seller, the case gets watered down or it just gets disappeared. Police Chief Beckner is kept in place because, for the most part, he's a chump, and that it is always the 2 deputy chiefs who run the dirty operations, along with detectives running the drugs. Boulder police take counsel from the DA, who is complicit with drug running and gets his cut. Exchanges on this matter, the various groups at the cafe were convinced of the reality of this long-running untaxed clandestine payola, drug dealing, and of Hunter's absolute corruption. Hunter won't find any friends at the Trident Cafe. I told Bill, this is coming from the whistleblower here, I told Bill that I've heard about extra hidden monies that cities, counties, and states have, and he confirmed that this is the main part of the package. In fact, it is cities and sometimes counties who hold these clandestine mortgages to conceal the untaxed transfer of funds in the eyes of the normal banking system. A lot of content here. This fits well as it is hidden investment profit money from the cities and states, etc., that pay to the hidden mortgages that are titled to the secretive trust accounts of the thieving public officials. It's only natural that cities be the ones to hold the hidden mortgages. Bill said that this is a setup. That is a well-oiled and well-connected conspiracy system that communicates very well between its members, fully self-sustaining because every member of the system is self-sufficient on its own, per every member's heavy investment in the stock market. If there are any weak links in the system, the bulk of the rest of the system can easily assist with the temporary shortfall of any member's local payola responsibility. It's the nameless, forgotten city auditors who keep the second set of books. Judge Long said Goldman Sachs does the lion's share of investing for these institutional investors, so of course they get the lion's share of any available insider political tips. This goes into the 2008 presidential candidate. Like I said, we're going to cover everything here, and we're going to get to the JonBenet stuff very shortly, so we want to get this all on record before files get lost or stolen or whatever. So it continues. We spoke of how 2008 presidential candidate quipped, "I don't know how many houses I have." It came out the next day that he has 9. 2 days later, it came out that he has 14. All of us joked and speculated as to how much monthly clandestine tax-free payola a long-entrenched U.S. senator receives. Members of this hidden conspiracy of this untaxed profit scheme are cities, counties, states, municipal, and state retirement funds, etc. This is the background for the phrase, "You can't beat City Hall in the courts," because judges and prosecutors are main recipients of the untaxed distribution of clandestine payments. Boy, is this ever timely today. From the city halls, he said the aspect of the scheme is not to be underestimated. Every recipient of these hidden funds is a criminal and a whore to that well-conspired system. There's probably not enough prison cells for the whole lot of them. I've never seen a dime of this. I'm told that only a handful of municipal judges in Colorado are in on it. A couple of Colorado Springs and a couple in Denver. Judge Bill claimed, quote, "As long as the real thieves hold the keys to the cops, the courts, and the legislatures, America will forever be a parasitic cesspool. It's the best protected and probably the largest crime syndicate in the history of North America." Judge said that he found that this tax-free hidden public money system owns at least half of the stock market, and yes, of course, the IRS is in on the fix, fully complicit and involved. Bill sarcastically said, "Heaven forbid should a whistleblower expose the scam scheme, and heaven help him too." Judge Long said that no city or state is bankrupt, that they just lie about what they really have so the dirty insiders can line their pockets with the unreported profits from the hidden investments. He added that there are a couple of banks and mortgage firms who are in on the fix and will hide some, quote, clandestine mortgages, quote, clandestine mortgages, quote, clandestine mortgages. Judge Bill spoke of the Ramsey case with a bit of trepidation. Some of what I got on this was from the 2 older gentlemen that Judge Long spoke to more at length. They told me more after the judge passed. They said it was a co-blackmail pedophile party that was being filmed. The girl was apparently accustomed to Dad and 2 other men, as she was not used to Dad and 7 other men. Per her reluctance to participate, she was choked and hit on the head for some sort of ritual-oriented discipline. The participants with John Ramsey, John the father, were the following: a Boulder deputy police chief, but not Sullenberger, a top cop from Denver, a Boulder district judge, a Boulder prosecutor, Robert Shapiro, a prosecutor and district judge from Larimer County, and a guy from IBM named Stevens. When someone said they remember, it was reported that it was investigators from the DA's office who contaminated the crime scene. Judge Long said, of course, probably Shapiro's handiwork. Apparently, these sorts of events get filmed so everyone on film will help anyone else on film when that one tries to make a career improvement or has some other special project. Judge Long called this assistance Satanism. He spoke of this often, even when not speaking of Ramsey. One coffee clutch attendee once said the phrase satanic dark arts, and the retired judge said that sounds like a more accurate phrase. Judge Bill spoke of how prosecutors and judges will often use psychic Satanism to attack 1. the accused, 2. the witness for the defense, 3. and the defense attorney himself, if the attorney is not already sold out to Satanism and probably ruining the case for the accused. The Satanism is used to confuse you in court, make you stupid, control you. He said that there are even a couple of public defenders in on this. The rest of the defenders are satanically attacked by the prosecutor's office. The judge considered Shapiro as a snake of snakes, but he wasn't sure if Shapiro was the top dog of the craft in that office. He thinks that new DEA is twice as evil as Shapiro, and that the new DEA, Stanley L. Garnett, didn't retain Shapiro merely. The two of them do different flavors of Satanism. He said that Garnett's dark arts activities may be on par with that of Denver DA Mitch Morrissey, who just happened to be one of the invited investigators on the Ramsey case, likely because of his advanced Satan skills. Judge Bill said their use of Satanism is the only real way they can hide their clandestine payola operations, with the untaxed payola and suppression of evidence at the top of the list of their ongoing crimes. It would be accurate to think of them as a cult. That's what they are, in the worst way. Power and money. Satanism is used to overpower any criminal defense. So you see how this is all tied into the tax havens, the hidden monies. It's all used to blackmail and protect each other and used for the dark art, actually, in the case of the JonBenet Ramsey fiasco. Bill was adamant about official incompetence being the #1 tool in official cover-up, mentioning Vietnam and the soon-to-be eternal fiasco in Afghanistan, both hiding involvement in heroin and oil pipelines, and of course, in the Ramsey case, hiding pedophilia and Satanism. When initially speaking of the Ramsey case, the judge reminded us that a few years later, a woman offered testimony to Hunter about the case. She explained to Hunter that there exists nationwide satanic pedophile activity that she investigates. She spoke of how choking and hitting on the top of the head of the victim is often used for discipline and training, which are the exact marks the Ramsey girl had on her head. Hunter stated in the Boulder Daily Camera, if only 15% of what she said is true, then it is worth investigating. Hunter announced his retirement within 2 weeks after speaking with that woman. Bill told us to drive by the Ramsey house to look at the design and the iron fence around the lot. He called it your basic Bavarian satanic architecture, and I could tell you firsthand, being at that Ramsey house, there was a real satanic architecture, a real satanic vibe. A car that kept circling us and watching us, and there was a statue of a little kid that like split in half and was just laying on the ground. It was one of the creepiest moments of my life. I was so uncomfortable. Continuing, Judge Bill said that prosecutors and judges use pendulums and rituals to summon demons and archdemons to do their bidding for them. Some of this was shown to him while being offered to teach him the dark craft. He said that it is the Satanism that you feel as soon as you walk into the courthouse, any courthouse. Satanism has something to do with all the marble in the courthouse. Somehow it is the Satanism that gets injected to the marble with ritual and dirty prayer. I remember something about the old Enron headquarters being filled with pink marble. Jeff Coe, Jefferson County Courthouse, there's a lot of marble, feels like a cesspool, even more so than Boulder. So whether people believe in Satanism or the devil or not, obviously people in the legal realms of government, they do dark arts and practice these things. Bill spoke of the Boulder police Satanists getting dogs from the Boulder Humane Society in the middle of the night, and the prosecutors and judges share in their ritual blood drinking, in addition to the prosecutors and judges' own ritual meetings. Other animals, mostly dogs, are received from a small variety of other sources. Bill spoke of an indoor kennel where dogs were kept previous to their demise, not very far up Lee Hill Road, in walking distance to Shapiro's home, which is at the end of Valley Lane, where many dark arts activities take place. Bill said that Shapiro is also active with Satanism in Summit County. He was told that most often before a Satan event, the participants will have a dinner party, either at the Red Lion or at the Green Brier, occasionally dining there after their satanic event, with directional hand gestures, he said, The dirty Boulder deputies are assigned to the foothills where the Satanists play, and the clean ones get assigned the flats. At least a baker's dozen of them, Satanists, live in the Lake of Pines gated community between Boulder and Lyons. And it just gets more weirder as I go on. Bill told us that he's heard multiple stories about the Papoose Club on Highway 67 up from the Deckers in western Douglas County, and that it is the main evil party spot and education center for Colorado Satanists. There are select Douglas County deputies who patrol those local roads. All of them, the select deputies, are on duty for weekends and Satan events. He said that the club is the top spot in the state for Satan events. They have a high-tech comm link for broadcasting and receiving with other satanic events elsewhere. You can see their microwave communication drum from the road in front of the lock gate. They've been known to extend their Satan parties to the Franktown Cave, sometimes in closed mines. They've been known to extend their Satan parties to Franktown.
People don't care. And all the winds, they carry without us. Hell fellowship's eternal flame. Once again, this summer sets us free.
When they visit the club, they load up the motels in Woodland Park in Mountail Springs. The motel's probably owned by Satanists. Judge Bill seemed excited and pleased telling us of the club. He once brought a list of favorite motels for the club attendees. Here's the Satan's favorite clubs and motels. It's Pike Peak Lodge, Crown Point, and the Intercontinental. Bill mentioned that Woodland Park is the closest town to overlook Air Force Rape Academy. They're all around, and I can assure you, being in Boulder the quick time it was definitely a satanic vibe. Many of the leaders and instructors at the Papoose Club are civilians who work at Fort Carson. Some of them live on the post. My contacts have never seen military uniforms at the club, but they say that they know that some are military. Federal intel hotshots, some thick foreign accent. Papoose Club brings in over $4 million a year, most of it tax-free, because it comes from those taxless hidden funds of the cities and counties. Someone at the Trident once grilled Bill for details of the dark events at the Papoose Club. Judge Long said that the Satanists have finally completely taken over Colorado State Troopers, and that for the past 10 years or more, only hired other Satanists. He suggested that this could be true in many, many states. Also, it's a mystery as to where they're finding the massively oversized recruits for their new hires. We found out about the Larimer County Ketrick case versus Timothy Masters.
8.5 years behind bars, Tim Masters is a free man. Masters was convicted in 1999 of killing a woman whose body had been found near his home, but new DNA evidence has exonerated him. His defense team enlisted the help of a European lab, and analysts there concluded the DNA found on the victim's clothing belongs to someone else.
We're sorry to reopen any wounds to the family of Peggy Hetrick.
Hetrick was found stabbed and mutilated in a field in 1987. Although he was a suspect early on, Masters wasn't arrested for more than a decade.
Of course, it was satanic related. The guilty party was the doctor who died. He was murdered before the fixed trial started, noting the doctor-like precision of how Hetrick was cut up. The two prosecutors, later both judges, were in on satanic activities with that doctor, but they weren't personally involved in the Ketrick fiasco. But the satanic prosecutors did serve to protect their satanic comrade by railroading Timothy Masters on extremely thin evidence, likely using satanic attack mind control on the jury, which is pretty much the standard for any prosecution. Bill claimed it's nearly impossible to oust a Satan judge because elections can be easily rigged. Another Satanist would just be appointed to any new opening. The committees that recommend judges are Satanists. All judges have been to that papoose place for testing. New judges are selected by quickness of satanic skills they demonstrate at that club. So we are being ran by Satanists, completely and utterly, brazenly, right in our face. And I think that holds true beyond just Colorado. He mentioned that Boulder police have their own room for satanic ritual, of course paid with the city funds. He said he wasn't perfectly sure about the details, but he does think a tunnel was dug to get to the room. He thinks it may go north from the basement of the police station to the next building to the north, occupied by a biotech firm. Bill said to look for an additional entry to the middle of the tunnel in the garages that are north of the police station. Bill knew that Boulder police pay for sort of subscription membership with a European Satanist group and use high-tech electronic video gear in the ritual room to interact live with European Satanists. I just want to say that this is all connected. And for us to understand how the world really works, and it's more than just money, it's more than just power, it's actually a belief in do as thy will, which is, Aleister Crowley said, the satanic phrase over and over, do as thy will. So they don't see the world like you or I. These people see the world from the dark arts, from the fallen angel. Now again, I just want to say that there are people, especially on this page, that are highly involved in the JonBenet Ramsey case. One of the first investigators on the crime scene in 1996 contacted me, and he said, I do have the missing piece that they've been searching for 20 some odd years. So hopefully this can help others in their open source investigation to the murder of this young child, and also to look into just how embedded Satanists are in the legal system and people that are supposed to be protecting us. And that's clearly not happening. Thank you for joining me on this impromptu JonBenet Ramsey and Judge Long's Confessions. Stay tuned, stay awake. We'll see everybody